Beyond the Hustle, the Business of Trucking Success. Every day, thousands of trucks thunder across America's highways, carrying the lifeblood of our economy. But behind each of those vehicles lies a critical question that too few are asking. Are we treating trucking like a legitimate business or just another hustle? The difference between these two approaches is the difference between building generational wealth and becoming another statistic of failure. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Tamaris Massengallo, a visionary in the transportation industry who's revolutionizing how we think about trucking, especially within African American communities. Tamaris isn't just an expert, she's a transformational force who has dedicated her life to elevating others through knowledge rather than hype. Her work has created pathways to economic independence for hundreds of families who might otherwise have fallen victim to the empty promises of influencer culture. And in a world of quick fixes, she stands as a beacon of integrity and substance. The highway to success is paved with compliance, not shortcuts, she emphasized. And that single statement captures the essence of what's missing in today's conversation about entrepreneurship in the trucking industry. We're living in the age of the influencer economy. Scroll through your social media for 5 minutes and you'll find someone flashing cash in front of a semi-truck, promising 6-figure incomes with minimal effort. It's seductive, it's exciting, and it's dangerously incomplete. The reality, nearly 70% of trucking startups fail within their first year. Not because the opportunity isn't real, but because too many approach this regulated industry like it's selling sneakers out of a trunk. Let me be clear. Trucking represents one of the most accessible paths to wealth creation for communities that have historically been locked out of traditional business opportunities, but only if we approach it with the seriousness it demands. Consider the story of Marcus and Dion, 2 brothers from Atlanta who left their warehouse jobs after seeing opportunities in freight logistics. Their uncle had been an owner-operator for years, but they watched him struggle with paperwork issues and compliance violations that repeatedly threatened his livelihood. That experience taught them a powerful lesson before they even started. They needed to understand the business, not just drive the trucks. Initially, they treated trucking like most newcomers do, jumping in with enthusiasm but minimal preparation. The result? Costly fines for hours of service violations and nearly losing critical contracts due to inadequate insurance coverage. Marcus described that period as the most expensive education I've ever received. What changed their trajectory wasn't a viral social media strategy. It was enrolling in federal motor carrier safety administration workshops and building relationships with experienced dispatchers through local trade associations. Within 18 months, they reduced violations by 90% and doubled their client base through reliable service records. Today, they're not just successful business owners, they're mentors, helping others navigate the complex regulatory landscape of transportation. Their approach wasn't flashy, but it created sustainable success that influencer culture rarely showcases. We're not just building a business, Dion often says. We're building a legacy that can support our community for generations. This brings me to the first critical insight from my conversation with Tamaris. Treat trucking as a business, not just a hustle. Success in this industry requires understanding compliance, regulations, and business fundamentals that keep you profitable and protected from costly mistakes. Jumping in without research or preparation can lead to devastating setbacks. Marcus and Dion understood something profound. They weren't just driving trucks. They were operating within a highly regulated ecosystem where compliance isn't optional. It's the difference between building something lasting and watching your investment disappear with the first DOT inspection. But here's where Tamaris's wisdom gets even more valuable. For those looking to enter the transportation industry, especially African American men seeking economic independence, there's a strategic entry point that too few consider: dispatch. Starting with dispatch offers an essential foundation. It teaches the logistics side of trucking, how loads are booked, routes planned, and compliance maintained. This builds confidence before investing heavily in equipment or operations. During the pandemic, a nonprofit in Detroit recognized this opportunity and launched a dispatcher certification program specifically designed for African American job seekers transitioning from retail and service sectors. The program paired trainees with established Black-owned carriers for internships, with curriculum focused on federal and state transport regulations alongside negotiation skills. The results were remarkable. Over 70% of graduates secured full-time roles within 6 months, with several advancing quickly into fleet management positions due to their deep understanding of compliance protocols. Many alumni have gone on to start their own consulting businesses, helping others navigate DOT requirements, creating a ripple effect that expands professional networks across multiple states. Jamal, one of the program graduates, shared how this approach transformed his understanding of the industry. I thought I wanted to own trucks right away, but learning dispatch first showed me all the pitfalls I would have fallen into. Now I'm building my fleet with my eyes wide open. This model has been cited nationally as proof that targeted education closes opportunity gaps in high-barrier industries like transportation. It demonstrates the power of Tamaris's second key insight. Entry-level learning is critical. Start with dispatch. By learning the business from the inside out, these professionals developed an invaluable perspective that many owner-operators lack. They understand the entire ecosystem, not just one component of it. This comprehensive knowledge becomes a competitive advantage when they eventually launch their own operations. But there's a third insight from Tamaris that might be the most important of all. Don't rely solely on influencers. Seek real resources and mentorship. Consider what happened to Andre, an aspiring owner-operator from Chicago who followed advice from popular online influencers, promising fast profits. He soon encountered legal trouble over improper licensing and documentation after skipping formal training steps. He lost thousands due to out-of-service orders during roadside inspections, a direct result of missing key regulatory updates, frequently discussed only among seasoned professionals offline. I was chasing the lifestyle I saw on Instagram, Andre admitted, but nobody on social media was talking about the FMCSA regulations that could shut you down overnight. His turning point came after connecting with local mentors through an urban Chamber of Commerce event focused on Black entrepreneurship and logistics. He enrolled in night classes covering DOT rules and dispute resolution techniques, rebuilding his operation with proper compliance this time around. His second attempt saw 0 violations over 2 years, plus growing revenue, thanks partly to referral contracts sourced via his mentor network, not social media alone. Today, he speaks regularly at workshops, warning newcomers about the dangers of relying solely on influencer hype versus vetted resources and training programs. His story highlights a critical truth. Real business growth comes from research, mentorship, and connecting with those who have hands-on experience, not just viral success stories. What would happen if more people adopted this perspective? If more approached trucking with respect for its complexity and emphasis on learning first principles rather than chasing quick wins hyped by influencers? We'd see fewer costly mistakes such as fines or failed businesses stemming from noncompliance, more sustainable wealth creation within African American communities thanks to stronger foundations, increased representation at every level, from drivers all the way up through executive leadership in one of America's most vital industries. This shift could help close persistent employment gaps seen between white workers, 3.8% unemployment, versus Black workers, 6%, according to recent Bureau of Labor Statistics data. The transportation industry moves $12.5 trillion worth of goods annually in the United States alone. It's the backbone of our economy. Yet, too often, we treat entry into this industry as if it requires nothing more than a CDL license and a social media account. Tamaris Massengel's approach challenges this narrative. She reminds us that building a successful trucking business requires the same diligence, education, and strategic thinking as any other enterprise, perhaps even more so given the complex regulatory environment. Success leaves clues, as the saying goes, and the clues from successful Black-owned trucking companies consistently point to the same conclusion. Those who approach trucking as a serious business venture, who invest in learning before leaping, and who build genuine relationships with mentors rather than following influencer trends. These are the entrepreneurs who build lasting legacies in transportation. So I challenge you today. Will you be seduced by the flashy promises of overnight success, or will you commit to the deeper work of building something that lasts? Will you sacrifice long-term prosperity for short-term gratification? Will you trust the influencer who's selling dreams, or the mentor who's lived the reality? The choice you make doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, your community, and generations yet unborn. When we build businesses the right way, with knowledge, compliance, and integrity, we create models of success that others can follow. We become the mentors that our communities desperately need. The highway to success is waiting. But remember, it's not about how quickly you get on the road. It's about having the knowledge, compliance, and mentorship to stay there for the long haul. The question isn't whether you can make money in trucking. The question is whether you'll build something that creates wealth long after you're gone, something that employs others, uplifts communities, and changes the narrative about what's possible. That's the difference between a hustle and a legacy. And that's the choice that stands before you today. What will you choose?